Scottsdale, Arizona. December 21, 2014, 4:36 p.m. A family knocks, no answer. The garage stands open since 7 a.m. inside, blinds shut. Air stale. Dogs bark from the back rooms. 2 closets wait on opposite ends of the master suite. One holds silence. One holds a voice. What happened to Victor Morales, age 52, on the night of December 20th? 5 years later, a courtroom will offer an answer that splits a city. Until then, the house speaks in fragments, not conclusions. One detail refuses to sit still. They entered through the open garage. Victor's black truck was in the drive. Andrea Cole's silver sedan sat inside the bay. The front door was locked from within. Routines felt interrupted, not shattered. Drawers were pulled out and placed, not dumped. A chair braced the knob of a small closet off the master bath. Behind it, Andrea lay on the floor. Wrists and ankles were bound with silk scarves. Her voice was hoarse and thin. She said she had woken confused and weak. 30 feet away, a second closet held Victor. He was unresponsive. A handgun he legally owned rested near his feet, still loaded. In the jacuzzi, investigators saw a white blouse and a kitchen knife under cooled water. The safe's handle showed a thin smear that looked like blood. No window was broken. The back door was secure. The thermostat held last night's setting. A candle on a nightstand in the bedroom still burned. Neighbors told police they noticed the open garage at 7 a.m. No one reported a struggle. One neighbor worked in his own garage past midnight. He heard no dogs for long. No vehicles stopped at the curb. The timeline tightened by the hour. The house offered order where chaos should live. Something else inside that order felt deliberate. Victor Morales and Andrea Cole had been married 30 years. They lived in a single-story home in North Scottsdale. He worked remote as a software engineer. She ran a small medical billing firm from home. Their adult daughter, Lauren, lived across town. Friends described the marriage as routine and quiet. Weekend habits were fixed. Groceries on Fridays. Dinner at the same Mexican restaurant before anniversaries. Short walks with the dogs at dusk. On December 20th, 2014, they kept the ritual. Credit card records put them at a Mexican restaurant at 8:11 p.m. A receipt from a convenience store shows pre-mixed drinks at 9:37 p.m. Cell tower hits place both phones back at their cul-de-sac by 10:02 p.m. Neighbors saw the couple's porch light switch off at 10:18 p.m. Victor texted his brother a quick tomorrow, 4:30. No reply after that. Andrea later said they changed, made drinks, then used the master bathroom jacuzzi. Andrea had chronic conditions, lupus, hyperthyroidism, and a seizure disorder. She had a documented history of postictal confusion. Family said she avoided driving after dusk. Victor handled errands and most late pickups. He planned to retire the next summer. He wanted road trips through the Four Corners. A printed itinerary for Mesa Verde sat on his desk. It carried penciled notes about mileage and park hours. At 10:41 p.m., Andrea's phone stopped registering motion. Location services were toggled off within minutes. Victor's phone stayed idle on the bedroom dresser. A neighbor's security camera clocked a sedan passing the intersection at 10:53 p.m. The plates were unreadable. There were no reports of loud voices or broken glass. Inside the house, holiday plans remained visible. Wrapped gifts in the den. A casserole dish thawing in the refrigerator. If you value fact-first investigations like this, consider subscribing now. We publish case files that revisit old conclusions and test them against the record. We will follow timelines, not rumors. We will compare sworn statements to forensic logs. The last movement in the home that night points to a choice, not chance. At 4:36 p.m. on December 21, 2014, Lauren reached the cul-de-sac and saw the garage still open. She called out for her parents. No response. Victor's black pickup sat in the driveway. Andrea's silver sedan sat inside the bay. The front door was locked from the inside. She used the interior door from the garage. The house felt sealed. Blinds shut. Thermostat at 72. Holiday music paused on the TV input screen. She moved down the hall and called 911 at 4:41 p.m. Dispatch logged possible medical, unknown status. A minute later, her uncle arrived and entered with her. The dogs barked from the back rooms. The master suite split in two directions. A small closet faced the master bathroom. A wooden chair pressed under its knob. They pulled the chair away. The door opened inward. Andrea lay on the floor. Her wrists and ankles were bound with two silk scarves. Her voice sounded weak and dry. She asked what time it was. 30 feet away, another closet door stood ajar. Victor was inside, unresponsive. A licensed handgun rested near his feet, fully loaded. Paramedics reached the bedroom at 4:49 p.m. They could not revive him. Officers began a slow sweep. A white blouse and a kitchen knife sat under cooled water in the jacuzzi. The bath jets were off. The bedroom showed unusual order. Drawers were removed and set down, not dumped. No window was broken. The back slider was locked. Crime scene photos captured a small candle still burning on a nightstand. No soot marked the shade. A thin smear that looked like blood crossed the safe's handle. The safe remained closed. A phone and wallet sat on the dresser. A casserole thawed in the refrigerator for that night's family dinner. In the garage, officers photographed a nylon backpack near the door to the laundry. Inside the backpack sat a game console and two controllers. The house presented a staged calm that clashed with a violent result. At 6:12 p.m. on December 21st, detectives interviewed Andrea at Scottsdale Osborne. She signed a medical release. Vitals were stable. Pupils equal and reactive. No scalp swelling. No lacerations. Nurses documented faint bruising on her upper arms. No deep ligature grooves on wrists or ankles. She said she felt salt-like after a seizure. She said she could not place the last 15 hours. She described the night step by step. They returned from dinner. They mixed drinks. They used the master bath jacuzzi. She rubbed lotion in the master closet. She said the dogs barked and Victor left to settle them. She remembered warm water and music from the TV input screen. She said she likely had a seizure and blacked out. She woke later tired and thirsty. She called out but passed out again. Detectives asked about earlier in the evening. Andrea volunteered a detail. A dark sedan followed them from Shea Boulevard onto 114th Street. The car kept a close distance. It turned away near the community entrance. She said Victor slowed on purpose, which annoyed her. She said they joked about holiday traffic. She did not see the sedan again. They pressed her on timelines. She could not confirm when the jacuzzi jet stopped. She could not explain how the chair wedged the closet door. She said she did not tie herself. She said she had no reason to harm Victor. She signed consent for a buccal swab. She declined a polygraph. She said she was shaking and cold. Her attorney later noted polygraphs are not admissible. Detectives compared her statement to the scene. No head trauma matched her blackout story. The candle in the bedroom still burned at discovery. The back slider was locked from inside. Her phone's motion log paused at 10:41 p.m. Location services toggled off within minutes. Victor's phone remained on the dresser. The kitchen knife came from their own set. The white blouse in the jacuzzi belonged to her. One answer raised a new problem. Andrea remembered being watched on the road but not inside her own home. Detectives secured the scene at 5:02 p.m. Evidence techs began a slow grid. No pry marks on door jambs. No splintering near the deadbolts. The garage keypad showed no recent error codes. The interior door from the garage locked as designed. Windows were latched. Screens intact. The backyard slider was locked from inside. No prints on the exterior handle beyond smudged oils. Inside the master, the order looked intentional. Drawers had been removed and placed upright on the floor. Jewelry tray sat level. No dump patterns. A narrow ring box lay open with nothing inside, but dust shadows matched an item that had been moved earlier, not stolen. A single nightstand candle burned with a short, domed wick. Tex photographed the wick to estimate burn time. No wax had spilled. The bathroom held the most anomalies. The jacuzzi water was tepid. Jets off. A white blouse and a kitchen knife lay under the surface. The knife matched the home's block set. No towels were missing. The bath mat was dry. The counter displayed lotion, hairbrush, and a small pill sorter. The pill lids were shut. A faint reddish smear crossed the safe handle in the adjacent closet. The safe remained closed. No metal shavings on the carpet. No tool marks on the hinges. Kitchen counters were cleared. Sink empty. Dishwasher dry. Trash can held standard household refuse. No obvious cleanup waste. The thermostat showed 72 since 9:31 p.m. Lighting schedules were unchanged. The TV input screen had paused holiday music. A universal remote rested near a folded blanket. In the garage, a nylon backpack sat by the laundry door. Inside were a game console and 2 controllers. The power cords were coiled, not ripped. A receipt tucked in a side pocket showed a used game trade from 3 weeks earlier. A thin film of dust on the console suggested it had been moved recently, then set down. No fingerprints lifted clean from the bag's nylon. The house read as interrupted ritual, not forced theft, and that gap widened with every photograph. The medical examiner began at 7:20 p.m. on December 21st. He documented more than 40 distinct injuries on Victor Morales. Many were defensive. They clustered on the hands, forearms, and shoulders. The head showed blunt force trauma. A series of shallow punctures and deeper wounds crossed the torso. No single wound alone explained death. The pattern indicated a sustained assault inside the master suite. Toxicology later showed no alcohol beyond dinner level intake. Stomach contents aligned with a late Mexican meal. Ligature analysis produced a key finding. The cord around Victor's legs left minimal furrows. There was no deep, circumferential indentation. No hemorrhage in underlying tissue. The rope around his chest lay loose. These findings were consistent with post-mortem binding or very brief restraint. The handgun near his feet remained loaded. The chamber was clean. No discharge residue appeared on his hands. Fingernails were intact. There were no fresh breaks or deep gouges under the nails. Swabs from the kitchen knife revealed a strong male profile that matched Victor. No foreign DNA was clear on the handle. The white blouse from the jacuzzi carried diluted blood consistent with the bathroom water mix. The safe handle produced a mixed profile. 1 male. 1 female. Neither matched the adult daughter, Lauren. A separate mixed profile appeared on the silk scarves used on Andrea's wrists and ankles. The profiles were partial. They were suitable for comparison but not source identification. Andrea Cole's exam showed light bruising on both upper arms. No scalp swelling. No lacerations. No deep ligature marks on wrists or ankles. Fingernails were clean. A presumptive blood test on her hands was negative. A full body scan found no hidden trauma. Her clothing showed no projected blood. Her socks were dry. The soles had lighthouse dust and 1 small fiber consistent with closet carpet. Forensic timing narrowed the assault between 10:20 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., yet 1 digital gap stayed unexplained. Lab work came back in the first week of January 2015. The scarves used on Andrea's wrists and ankles produced a mixed DNA profile. 1 contributor was female. 1 was male. The mixture did not match Victor or Andrea. It did not match Lauren. The profile was partial, but suitable for comparison. CODIS returned no hits. The safe handle showed a separate mixed profile. Again, one male and one female. Again, no household match. The knife handle showed a strong male profile that matched Victor. No clear foreign DNA was on the grip. Technicians swabbed the nylon backpack and the zipper pull. The zipper carried a low-level female profile that did not belong to Andrea or Lauren. The console casing yielded touch DNA too degraded to interpret. Dust on the console vent suggested recent movement, not long storage. The power cord was coiled. The controllers were wrapped with rubber bands. It looked packed, not grabbed. The receipt in the side pocket was 3 weeks old. It listed a used game trade at a Phoenix shop. Detectives called the shop on January 6th. The clerk pulled logs and serials. The shop had not purchased that console. The receipt belonged to a different unit. The bag was generic and common. The console in the garage was either theirs or staged. It did not prove a theft. Crime scene techs lifted one good latent from the controller shell. AFIS returned no match. Timeline checks continued. A neighbor on the same cul-de-sac said he worked in his garage until 12:45 a.m. He heard short dog barks around 10:30 p.m., then silence. He saw no one on foot. No vehicle stopped near the house. Another neighbor's motion camera caught headlights at 10:53 p.m. The plates were unreadable. There were no subsequent passes logged. Phone records added a narrow window. Andrea's phone stopped motion at 10:41 p.m. Location services toggled off within minutes. Victor's phone stayed idle on the dresser. Both devices stayed inside the residence. The evidence pulled the case away from robbery and toward routine. Detectives shifted tone on December 22nd at headquarters. They told Andrea the scene looked staged. No pry marks. No broken glass. A candle still burning. A chair wedged under a closet knob. They said the order in the bedroom undercut a chaotic attack. Andrea kept her answers short. She said she did not stage anything. She said she had no memory of tying herself. She said she woke tired, thirsty, and confused. They asked about the chair. Investigators demonstrated a method. Slip a pillowcase under the chair's front legs. Pull the fabric from inside the closet. The chair drags flush to the door. The knob locks under pressure. A technician repeated the maneuver twice. Timed runs took less than 30 seconds. Andrea said she had never seen that before. She said she could not have done it while dazed. They raised the phones. Her device stopped motion at 10:41 p.m. Location services toggled off minutes later. The setting required active touches. It was not a passive failure. Victor's phone never moved from the dresser. His handset showed no outgoing calls after 10:18 p.m. They asked why she did not call 911 when she woke. She said she could not reach a phone and blacked out again. They requested a polygraph. Andrea declined. She said she was shaking and cold. She signed a buccal swab consent but asked to speak with an attorney. She waived no rights. Detectives documented the refusal and kept questioning. They asked about recent stress. Andrea mentioned health costs and Victor's desire to retire. She said they had argued about selling the house weeks earlier. She said they resolved it. A surveillance canvas produced little. A motion camera caught a passing sedan before 11. No plates. No return pass. Ring devices nearby showed routine traffic only. No figure on foot. No door checks. The garage keypad had no bad entry spikes. The slider lock was intact. Detectives left the room with a clear direction, but one contradiction would not move. On December 26, 2014, a tip reached the Scottsdale line. A caller reported a skinny man knocking doors near 114th Street after 11 p.m. The caller gave one name, Evan. He drove an older gold sedan with a taped rear window. Records showed a local parolee named Evan R. with burglary priors. He listed an address for miles west. Detectives knocked twice. No answer. A card went into the door jamb. No return call. They checked his supervision status. He had reported at 9 a.m. on December 20th. He wore a GPS ankle monitor. The device had gaps. A dead battery generated blind spots from 10:20 p.m. to 12:40 a.m. The supervisor logged the failure. The unit reconnected after midnight near Shea and 92nd Street. That corridor led toward the Morales home. Detectives requested movement data. The resolution was poor. The path could not be mapped house by house. A canvas pulled 2 more threads. A landscaper saw a man smoking by a wall near 10:50 p.m. He described a thin face and a hoodie. He lost sight of the figure within seconds. Another neighbor found a cigarette but near his side gate the next morning. The brand matched a pack later recovered from Evans' trash. DNA testing on the butt by the gate failed. Sun exposure degraded it. Detectives returned to the game shop receipt. The store manager produced surveillance stills from the same date. The person selling a console was a woman with a sleeve tattoo, not Evan. Serial numbers did not match the unit in the garage. The backpack looked generic. It could be anyone's. Or it had been staged. The controller latent still had no AFIS match. Andrea's account remained unchanged. She named no enemies and owed no debts. She mentioned only the sedan that followed them off Shea. Detectives did not locate that vehicle. They found no license plate hits that night. The outside suspect thread kept fraying, but one piece refused to break. By June 2016, Maricopa County convened a grand jury. It returned a first-degree murder indictment against Andrea Cole. Detectives briefed prosecutors with a simple theme. The scene looked staged. The phones went dark by choice. The weapon came from the home. The candle kept burning. The rope marks were shallow. The timeline fit a controlled interior event. Prosecutors outlined 2 possible motives. First, money. Victor carried a $250,000 life insurance policy through work. Andrea was the beneficiary. Premiums were current. Second, pressure. Health costs, discussions about selling the house, and Victor's plans to retire. Friends recalled polite disagreements. No one described explosive fights. The state argued motive was not required. Opportunity and mechanics were. The defense set its frame early. Andrea's medical record showed lupus, hyperthyroidism, and a seizure disorder. Her mobility was limited after prior hip surgery. They argued she could not sustain a prolonged assault. They stressed the evidence gap. No blood on her clothing. No deep ligature grooves on her. Fingernails intact. No injuries matching a knife attack. They highlighted the DNA mixtures on the safe handle and the scarves. They did not match the household. They suggested unknown contributors. Financial records were neutral. Mortgage and utilities were current. No large cash withdrawals. No hidden credit accounts. A search of emails found routine exchanges about holiday plans. The printed road trip itinerary stayed on Victor's desk. It was not a farewell note. It was a schedule. A pre-trial hearing examined the chair demonstration. A technician again wedged a closet door in under 30 seconds. The defense argued the method required planning and balance. Andrea denied ever practicing such a technique. A separate hearing took up polygraph requests. The judge excluded any mention of refusals. The jury would not hear it. Trial was set for October 2019. Both sides subpoenaed experts on bloodstain interpretation and injury timing. Andrea remained free on bond with reporting conditions. She kept the same account in every interview. She never added an intruder name. The indictment promised clarity, but the evidence still split down the middle. Jury selection began on October 7, 2019, in downtown Phoenix. 12 jurors and 2 alternates were sworn. Opening statements were brief. The state argued the scene was controlled, not chaotic. The weapon came from the kitchen. The candle still burned. The phones went dark by action, not accident. The chair could be wedged from inside. The defense said there was no direct evidence. No blood on Andrea Cole. No deep ligature marks on her. DNA mixtures pointed to unknown contributors. A bloodstain analyst testified first. She said the bedroom pattern suggested movement without wide dispersal. She emphasized the clean lamp shade beside a burning candle. She said a close struggle there would deposit soot or cast off. She could not time the stains to a minute. She could speak to direction and volume only. A crime scene reconstructionist repeated the chair demonstration. He wedged a closet door in under 30 seconds using a pillowcase. The jury watched without questions. The medical examiner reviewed injuries and timing. He said Victor Morales suffered a sustained assault. He said minimal binding marks suggested post-mortem restraint. He said toxicology showed normal dinner-level alcohol. He did not link injury angles to a specific attacker. The defense pressed him on uncertainty. He agreed the science could not identify who held the knife. The state introduced phone logs. Andrea's phone stopped motion at 10:41 p.m. Location services were toggled off minutes later. The setting required active input. Victor's phone never moved from the dresser. The defense countered with medical records. Seizures caused confusion and memory gaps. Andrea's mobility limits were real. They walked the jury through prescriptions and passed ER notes. They pointed to DNA mixes on the safe handle and scarves. Those profiles were not household matches. Closings were short. The jury began deliberations at 3:22 p.m. They asked for the chair video twice. They returned a guilty verdict the next afternoon. The judge imposed 27 years. The defense filed notice of appeal within hours, but one ruling would define the next fight. After sentencing, Andrea Cole filed a timely notice of appeal. The brief focused on sufficiency, injury timing, and the chair demonstration. In July 2020, the Court of Appeals affirmed. The panel held the evidence legally sufficient under Arizona standards. It noted motive was not required. It deferred to the jury on weight. The court rejected challenges to the reconstruction video and the candle testimony. A petition for review to the state Supreme Court was denied. In 2021, post-conviction counsel entered the case. They requested broader DNA testing on the mixed profiles. They asked for additional swabs from the safe handle and the scarves. They argued newer kits could resolve low-level contributors. They also sought reanalysis of touch DNA on the controller shell and console casing. The state lab agreed to a limited review. Funding and capacity delayed a full retest. Counsel re-examined digital records. They flagged the 10:41 p.m. motion stop on Andrea's phone but noted seizure history. They highlighted no projected blood on her clothing. They stressed minimal ligature furrows on her wrists and ankles. They renewed the request for Evan RS GPS raw data. The supervising agency provided summaries only. The device's battery gap still covered the critical window. A subpoena for tower dumps near the cul-de-sac produced routine traffic without ties to Evan. In late 2022, an Arizona innocence organization announced support. The group promised an independent review of timelines, DNA mixtures, and scene modeling. They contacted the game shop again. Serial numbers still failed to tie the garage console to the receipt. The backpack remained generic. It proved little. Counsel gathered declarations on Andrea's medical limits before December 2014. Records confirmed prior hip surgery and postictal confusion in ER notes. Andrea remains incarcerated on a 27-year sentence. She is eligible for parole review in 2031 under current calculations. Lauren visits when she can. Victor's family maintains the verdict reflects the evidence. Two families want certainty. The DNA mixtures sit at the center, waiting for a cleaner answer.